Marty somehow gets every blogger in the planet to retweet his press releases. That could be an interesting topic while we're waiting. Carry on, guys. The floor is yours.
All right, ready to get started? Yeah, so search, syndication, and what that means for brands, and hopefully today, we want to get into the future of syndication. It's been around since really search has been around, but it's also been sort of a gray area, and we're hoping to kind of lift that veil a little bit today, dive into a little bit more about what it actually is and what it means and where it's going. But first, let's start with introductions. So,
Andrews de Villiers. I'm the Vice President of Revenue for Ad Marketplace. We are the leading platform exclusively focused on search syndication. We're based out of New York City. Majority of our business is direct sold advertising into our syndication platform. And we have an industry-leading platform servicing our publishers on the sell side.
Sean Evans. I'm a director of the publisher business with Microsoft, so I just joined 3 weeks ago, so don't ask me too many strategy questions yet. But also spent about 6 years at Yahoo prior to that, also on the publisher side of the business.
Hi, Danny Nguyen. I'm the group director at Mindshare. I oversee search and digital.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Johnson. I'm on the search affiliate team at Yahoo based out of Burbank.
My name is Micah Nyatsumbo, and I'm the director of emerging technology at Media Contacts, which is the interactive agency division of Havas Digital.
Yes, this is it's a large panel, so if panel size means anything in terms of just complexity and the bigness of the idea. Hopefully that's relevant for this. But let's first dive into, I think, just kind of level setting. What is search syndication? Because I think that's probably the biggest question more than anything. There's a lot of different things that fall under that category. So I think, first turning to, I think, at the publisher side, to Sean and Lindsay is what exactly, if you could define, what are the different pieces then that fit into that syndication model?
I'll start. Yeah, I think we kind of talked a little about that. There's different sources basically within syndication. I mean, there's obviously the sponsored search. There's the contextual piece. There's different channels like within park domains. There's domain air traffic. I think Andres and I talked about this. It was basically kind of almost everything outside of Yahoo.com, Google, Microsoft. I mean, all those owned and operated properties. You can kind of think about it like that for the most part. There's pretty much syndication after that.
Yeah, I think I would add on like toolbars as well, right? So we kind of think of our business as search, sponsored search, content, the domain match, and then we're exclusive. We have the air or the ISP, like the Comcast and the Time Warners. So
let's talk about that. I guess the park domains and air concept a little bit more. I think that's something that kind of gets glossed over a little bit. What is a park domain, and how do those error message or error pages fit into the syndication model?
I think I'll probably let Lindsay talk about the park domains, but I spent a little time in the DNS error space myself with a company called Nominum that is a DNS provider for big ISPs, so they kind of jumped into the DNS error space, partnering with Yahoo. So it's a little bit of a controversial space just with privacy and things like, especially outside the US when you get into Germany and some of the other countries. But basically from the ISP perspective, you're looking at it as a sort of providing a better user experience, where instead of just putting up a error page where a lot of users may not, like, how did I get here? You're basically just taking the query and returning search results so they can hopefully get where they wanted to with one click. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And obviously it's a monetization thing for the ISP, whereas if you were to just type it into Firefox, potentially the browser could just grab that and return Google results. So that's kind of the sort of who owns that is really a big question, I think.
Yeah, we just try to keep someone on that page a little bit longer, than possible, because obviously they got there as an error. So, but yeah, the domain business. So you're probably familiar with the domains side, but a few years ago, a few of these guys bought up a lot of these domains, and so we worked with the companies that actually managed those domains. And so, I mean, obviously, having a park domain is kind of a thing of the past, right? We encourage like content and having good original stuff on there. And so really it's like, how do we think about our partners in terms of giving them content, right? Like sharing that with us so you can have a better site. So that's what we're looking to give more features and functionality to those domain guys and helping them be creative and innovative with their business and kind of move away from that old school like park domain model. So.
And also, I just would add one thing, just in the air channel in particular. I mean, it performs very well from a sort of a traffic quality perspective. It's always up there, sort of at 9 or 10 from a traffic. It's ISP traffic, so it converts very well. So it's obviously it's attractive from our perspective.
Right.
And if I could just jump in, so as Sean mentioned, really the syndicated space is really anyone typing in some sort of search outside of Google.com or a destination search engine. The domain stuff's great, but where we actually see some of our best quality traffic sources come from any of the search widgets, and as mobile becomes more of an important presence and a growing portion of search spend, the app developers and the search widgets and the SDKs and a lot of these browser add-ins that you see out there is really where a lot of more people are spending their time searching. It used to be something where it was a savvy internet user used to use toolbars to customize their search, aggregate Twitter results, shopping results, sponsored listing results provided by Oversee or Google or Yahoo or any of the major players out there. But where we actually see some of our best performing traffic comes from the search widget developers out there over the domain traffic.
I mean, yeah, the domain side is still a huge business for us. I mean, I think if you think about like the kind of long tail, the torso publishers, right? I mean, that still provides, lots of liquidity and unique kind of query terms and value to you as an advertiser that you really can't get on Yahoo or being O&O. So I think the domain business is still, very successful for us.
Danny and Micah, from the agency side of things and the brand perspective, what are your thoughts on some of the variety of traffic sources within the syndication networks?
I can start first. Is Janelle here? No, she left. So if there's no transparency, I'm going to call John. Because I'm going to go, I'm going to take part of that budget and I'm going to give it to targeted social. And the reason being, if you do not have any transparency, then it's not a very user-friendly experience. And I'll kick it off with that.
Yeah, do you think that transparency is there now?
No.
I think on the back end it is. So we run search syndication, and we run it with Yahoo, and we also run it with Google. I think you have to look at your side platforms and your amateurs of the world to see what's performing and look at those specific sites that are providing conversions and then leverage that insight and then buy a bigger buy through site targeting with Google, for instance. And then I think the other opportunity is partnering with Ad Marketplace. I was not a believer in them, especially when they had those word clouds. So when they changed their platform to search syndication, it performed extremely well, and we tested them against a couple of our content buys, and they performed phenomenally. And I think it's all about transparency and the ability to optimize on the back end, and using syndication as a volume play and scale, but also as a research tool to make a bigger buy with your content buys.
Actually, I'll add that I think Ad Marketplace is adding that step of transparency. And I think it's definitely something that we're going to, for the future of search syndication, transparency is going to be a big issue.
I think just to make everyone aware, if you're an advertiser and you, think about search syndication, network distribution is big, right? You can opt in or out. Now we offer site targeting for our O&O properties, so we're starting to test with that. So if you want to just buy Yahoo Sports or Yahoo News, we give you domain level blocking. So if you feel like a domain doesn't perform well for you, then you can certainly block that. And then also you can, kind of manage those bids separately, right? You can build out separate campaigns, and that's really important to really, keep a close eye on how it's performing, and then, adjust your budgets accordingly. So we give advertisers lots of control for search syndication.
I'll add that Yahoo actually does a better job than Google in this one area of giving that control with syndication and search partners than the Google platform. I think if we have any PPD pharma advertisers in here, this is a really hot topic, and it's really tough because of all the pharma regulations. So I think the solution that Yahoo has done is a good solution and way for us to work with syndication.
Wouldn't you say that one of the reasons that Yahoo should be a superior platform for syndication compared to Google is that the majority of their clicks are coming from their syndicated network?
40% is from the, the Search Alliance ad delivery comes from our syndication network. It's like 5 billion searches a month, I think, so.
Let's talk about quality for a second. I think anyone who I think was probably buying search 5 years ago on some of the networks may remember you'd be managing a campaign and all of a sudden you log in one day and one of the network partners all of a sudden blew up and traffic quadrupled overnight. And you'd reach back out to the partner and or to one of the search networks and then negotiate your way out of into a refund. What are some of the measures that are happening now in order to manage quality?
I think there's obviously with the Search Alliance, I mean, there's been a big focus on the quality of the network overall. So I think that, we've kind of sort of worked together to sort of put, obviously there's a lot of these tools in place, but also as far, the sort of smart pricing has, continues to get tweaked where, some of these publishers on the syndication side are actually, sort of can outperform, the O&O properties as far as, that's basically what they're being measured against. And so there's some, tremendous opportunities out there. And, obviously, I think Danny talked about the volume and the scale. I mean, that's what it gives you as well, but it also sort of gives you it at the right price, right? So you get the smart pricing, which actually advertisers paying the right price for that traffic.
The way that we view quality and the way that we manage it, it's a little bit contrary to maybe some of the other guys out here. It's a very advertiser-focused conference. We're very much publisher-centric and driven, and the more tools and transparency you can provide to your publishers to better understand the nature of their traffic and how it performs for your advertisers, incentivizes them to optimize their traffic, which in turn delivers better performance to the advertisers. Google and Yahoo are very much a black box to the publishers. From what I know of the publishers that work with both us as well as Yahoo, since Microsoft has taken over and they switched from Panama to Ad Center, the quality score has become much more representative of actual conversion rate and quality back to the advertisers, which is great, and I think they're doing a great job of sort of cleaning up that network. But what we've seen as being the most successful way to handle it is to put the tools in the publisher's hand, let them optimize off of your platform. Our business development team very much sells our technology as an enterprise software solution. So it's very in-depth tools, and we feel that the more we advance the publisher tools, the better the quality of the advertiser.
Steve, I want to jump in. Quality is very important because if you think about the integrated process we have in place for our clients, if the quality of the traffic from syndication is trash, think about our display counterparts who are retargeting and remarketing to trash traffic. So you're wasting even more money. So I think quality is a huge issue that we should all be looking at, especially on the back end as well.
What can we be doing to manage, I guess from an advertiser perspective, how can we identify quality versus some of the lower quality traffic out there? I guess what are some of the measures that we can be putting in place?
I mean, depending on how hyper DR your clients are, like one of my DR clients, they go beyond the cost per lead. They look at the leads to appointment ratio. So when I launch a program, we document it within Omniture, for instance. So once it's live, we know that if syndication was launched, what was the incremental lift in conversion, but did our lead to appointment ratio increase or decrease? So you can kind of tell if it's, unqualified leads or qualified leads. But I think from a retargeting perspective, if you're driving all these clicks to your site and then you're retargeting off bounce rates and all the good stuff, it's like, if it's trash from the beginning, why would you want to reach that consumer again?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, since the Search Alliance, we're delivering higher ROI now than ever. And like we said, we have cut out a lot of the traffic in there, the junk traffic that was in our network. And again, if for people that aren't aware, like we have a team that sits in between the advertiser team and the publisher team. It's called the Marketplace Integrity Team. And so they kind of oversee all of this and work with Microsoft. They work with our publishers. They work with our partner manager team in Burbank. So, we just don't allow, like you said, when, overnight something spikes, like we have, controls over that. We have test implementations where we wouldn't let someone just turn it on, 100%. So there's a lot of different, things that take in place because we don't want to have to refund an advertiser, right? That's the last thing that we want to do. So, a lot of people and teams and tools that kind of look over that. So, I mean, and of course, there's going to be bad actors, right? I mean, that's in any large network. So, I'm sure you guys maybe have an experience or aware of something, but we try to crush bad behavior immediately. And so, we don't put up with that, and they're penalized, of course, for doing that. So.
And I think the advertisers have a big say in this, as part of this integrity team, as far as bringing new publishers on board, new inventory. It's scrutinized as far as their implementation, reputation, all types of different things that we can find out about it before they're actually launched. And as Lindsay said, they'd be tested if there was any question about it. So it's taken very seriously.
So as we start thinking about 2012 and some of the enhancements that will be made as we move forward, what are some things that, I guess, first, perhaps from on the publisher side that you're going to be working on in moving products forward going into next year?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, we are very publisher-centric, and we've seen it to the benefit of the advertiser from the quality side. And as we talk about quality of traffic, I think it's important to talk about what you define as quality. To be a syndication platform that's successful, that drives positive ROI from a large network of a lot of various implementations and different propensities to convert, from whether the user is typing in a search in a toolbar or has landed on an error page, or any of the varieties of the channels that are out there, it's really important to have a flexible channel that's able to not only price effectively to the publisher, but also kick that back to the advertiser. One thing that we've really put a strong focus on is not just scoring our publisher sources and giving them an indication of what works, but by allowing the advertisers to dynamically price every one of the sources in our network. I think we have well over 1 million IDs in our system, and thank you. and what we've seen is that some sources from one source to the other with the same keyword can have over 1,000% difference in the performance to the advertiser. So if you can't get to a granular level where you can price every single source in that network and you are transparent to the advertiser about those sources and give them those controls, they're never going to be able to hit ROI metrics that come anywhere close to what they would hit on a major SERP like Google.com or Yahoo.com. Our investments on the publisher side, we're coming out with a new 3.0 release in Q1 of next year, which the business development team is very excited about. It's going to take the platform to the next level and truly allow us to compete for some of the best channels of inventory out there, head-to-head against Yahoo and Google. So we're always continually investing in the technology, but like I said, I think that the granular pricing to the advertiser is fundamental to making syndicated search work.
Sean?
Yeah, I'd just say we're, in my short time at Microsoft, I can definitely see that there's, very much of a focus on, applying resources and thinking about, ways to innovate. I think Mark Canaboo mentioned this last night at the dinner around, that we're having regular releases. We're seeing, great improvements. We're looking at, site targeting, rich ads and search, some of these things that we're pushing out on the O&O that can then potentially get pushed out to the syndication network as well. So there's definitely we definitely want to continue to innovate and, obviously want to sort of get feedback. Love to get some feedback as far as what you'd like to see. But we're definitely, committed going forward.
Yeah, I think for 2012, first we're trying to grow our network, right? We're trying to give, publishers more than just an ad or an algo result. We're trying to actually give them features and products that Yahoo has built for their O&O and give those to publishers. I think that was one great thing about Blake Irving when he came on board, is that let's take all these things that we've built for Yahoo and give them to publishers. So for example, like a contextual shortcuts product that you might see on Yahoo News or Yahoo Answers, giving that to a publisher. Like I mentioned earlier with the domain guys, like giving them content. Giving them a hosted search solution for like our toolbar guys, and really giving everything that Yahoo has on their search and giving that to a partner. So really, definitely product focused, growing our network, continuing to crush bad behavior immediately, and really just diversifying our publishers. So,
from an advertiser request, I don't know how many people know that actually Yahoo has the top, they're the top 20 developer on Facebook, and their app has I think it's about 19 million monthly users that are sharing news and other content that they see. So I would love for you guys to build that into search syndication so we can get more transparency, we can see what people are sharing with about topics, and then be able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think one thing, the Facebook, kind of the open graph, so we saw Yahoo News traffic increase like 600%, right? And so that's great for us. And so that's just kind of one example of working with Facebook and taking that social aspect to the next level. So.
Danny, anything you'd like to see?
I just want them to battle it out and give us more transparency and leverage to pull. So
Better ROI,
you guys
right?
keep on doing it, yeah.
I think one thing too is that I've been kind of talking about, and actually some people here mentioned it, is the the site links or sub-navigational, I don't know what we're calling it, but like below the click URL. So if you're like on a Zappos, like women's shoes, men's shoes, an advertiser's actually paying a premium for that click. So I know I would love to see, we'll work with Microsoft on getting that built in products and other cool things as well. So.
One kind of, I guess, off-the-cuff question for the Microsoft-Yahoo relationship. I'm just curious that, are you managing networks independently? Or under Ad Center, you're buying one network. But are those networks that you have together, those relationships, or are some of those relationships structured where MSN has a direct relationship with one potential partner, or Yahoo has a relationship with another? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, and we definitely, on the syndication side, we still compete as far as having direct deals with publishers. But as part of the DA, I mean, it's the Yahoo sales team is basically responsible for selling across the combined O&O. So there's still some competition on the.
We're frenemies.
Yeah, we're frenemies on the publisher side. So that's just what's part of the deal.
Is that on the buzzword list? No.
On the bingo turn.
The other, I think, theme that seems to be coming up this year is voice search. Is that something that you guys are thinking about in the development side of things?
I mean, syndication platforms would be the perfect tools to integrate with any of these varieties of search functionalities. And if you're going to search with a voice and you can translate that into a keyword and you can syndicate search results out to that user, then definitely we're the best ones in position to handle that. I don't know if you guys at Yahoo or Microsoft are developing. I would assume Microsoft is probably developing something.
Yeah, I based on what I'm hearing here, we need to be doing that. So I'll definitely be bringing that back. But I haven't had discussions with those teams at this point. But that's definitely a takeaway from here, is that that's something that we should definitely be focused on. So.
Do you think that as our partners evolve and innovate, that they don't just lump everything together? I think one of the things that have kept so many partners successful is really, again, that lever and that transparency. Kind of like we talk about mobile, that's a great area for syndication to expand, but don't lump it all together. Let us have the ability as experts to optimize accordingly as the syndication partners expand.
What percentage of your network traffic right now are you seeing coming from mobile, I guess, versus on maybe direct mobile traffic versus, that's Yahoo related versus maybe on the network?
I mean, I think it depends. I think like the Google guy said earlier, it depends on the vertical. But I mean, usually, we try to ask publishers like how much mobile traffic they're getting, and it's between like 15 to 20%. And so we're working with them to think of creative ways to kind of monetize that mobile traffic, either through Yahoo products or some third-party technology, and continue to track that on a separate, we call them source tags, but maintain that nice level of traffic quality so you're not getting junk traffic, and that it's actually when someone performed a search, then showing an actual ad, maybe that kind of hovers or overlays on the page, the mobile page. Because if you think about it on a smartphone, right, the ads are still there, but you just scan through them and it's gone, and it's like this big, so it's not really working out. But
for us, we see a lot of mobile traffic from our domain partners. If you think about the user in the mobile browser, first of all, there's always a lot of misspellings on a mobile phone. I know I probably hit a type-in domain site with some sponsored listings pretty regularly, and I'll use that to navigate through to the advertiser site, and so the performance is very strong to the advertiser. We do work with some partners that are mobile platforms, and they've been built specifically out as app traffic. The conversion rate to our advertisers is a little bit lower. I think the intent is lower from that, really depending on the type of implementation. If it is a search app, then the performance is going to be strong. But we have made a lot of development this year in not only segmenting out the mobile traffic, but actually getting down to device level targeting for our users. So we're always pushing technology to try and get more granular with the pricing.
So Robin mentioned that he'd like to see the gloves come off a little bit. So I think at this point, I think it's been fairly kind so far. But to that end, would like to open it up to the floor for questions.
mean, Mike and I could just get off the stage if you like.
Hey there, Eric Sass from MediaPost. I'm always interested in bad behavior, and Lindsay mentioned that that there is, of course, in any big network, there's some bad behavior. I'm just wondering, can you explain a little bit more what that means in this context, and also what the penalties that Yahoo brings down on the heads of those malevolent actors?
Right. So we obviously have the smart pricing, like Sean said, but those we obviously have the traffic quality score, so they're discounted heavily. Anytime that we see like fraudulent or something that's non-human, for instance, we penalize them and crush it immediately and work with Microsoft and teams to prevent that. Right. So I think it's always like trying to stay one step ahead of the bad behavior. And like I said, it's always going to exist in any large network, and that's just kind of like an ongoing issue that we have to deal with in terms of really managing a large network. But I think that there's, like I said, lots of controls and tools in place, and hopefully prevent that. So,
yeah. I think there's obviously the goal is to sort of capture that up front, with some of the filtration. That's the goal, is to get it there, so you don't have to deal with credits or anything like that down the line. So I think we have a lot of good protections in place there, and then obviously we can sort of, if there's things after the fact, we definitely are going to penalize them, and
and remove them from the network.
And remove them if
right.
if it comes to that.
So, if I could just jump in here, Yahoo does utilize a TQ score, which from what we know is more of a discount factor to the payout to the publisher. Where we've seen it more of a natural selection way to police the network. Obviously, we have the filters in place, which are real time and protect the advertiser from any fraudulent activity or whatever we're all sort of talking about here. But what we've seen is that solid publishers with great traffic are rewarded if you give the controls to the advertisers to price the partners that are converting well, and they're actually able to identify this partner performs better than this partner from an ROI standpoint. They're going to bid up on that channel. That publisher is going to receive higher RPCs, and thereby become a larger presence in the network. We've really seen the cream sort of rise to the top by putting those tools both on the publisher and the advertiser side. And like I said, we don't use our scoring system as a discount factor. We use it as an indication of what channels are going to perform better for an advertiser. But at the end of the day, the pricing comes down to the advertiser being able to pick and choose where they want to run their ads in the network and what they want to pay for it.
So in 2006, I think I wrote a blog post titled "Syndication or Syndication."
If you search on search syndication, I think it's the second result.
So this has been a hot button topic of mine for a long time, and Andrew is exactly right that you have to give the advertiser control over the pricing of the individual syndication partners, because one of Google's big syndication partners, as an example, is eBay. Well, the traffic from eBay for some of our advertisers is fantastic. The traffic from it for others is awful, depending on what you sell, where you are in the ecosystem. And so smart pricing is this blended average of how is eBay for everybody. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to give us controls. Please. Thank you.
And controls ahead of time, not just pulling a query report afterwards.
Yeah, after the fact, it doesn't help you, right? You can be able to control it.
Come on,
Are there
somebody.
questions?
Well, just to echo what George said, one of the things that annoys me the most about Google syndication is they don't allow you to, at a campaign level, just focus on search partners. You have to include Google. You can't exclude Google, in other words. And actually, in many cases, we find, because of the demographics of the search partners, that the quality is actually better for some advertisers. And I don't know if Yahoo and MSN have that functionality or not.
Yes.
They do.
Network distribution. Mm-hmm.
So you can just focus on the network and not on.
Yeah, so there's distribution control, so you can select what you want to
I'd like
take
to see
part in.
that. I'd like to have you guys push Google on that. That'd be great. I think it's
Sure.
It's a differentiator.
So you guys gonna push Google, or you crush them? Crush them.
'em.
We'll take that into the lobby.
Because they've been very bad.
Microsoft's
They
got lots
deserve-
of cash. We can do that, right?
Any other questions?
Others?
Anybody want to tell Lindsay how bad they've been so she can crush you?
Any positive experiences about something, traffic from the network that was a good thing and performed better than?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, there are great network partners. AOL delivers great traffic for Google, as an example. And I think, so here is the reason that Google is going to have to see the light here is the quality syndication partners are going to go with the advertising platform, whether it's Bing or Ad Marketplace or Google Syndication, that gives them the best return on investment. And that best return on investment is going to come from advertisers being able to bid more for the higher quality traffic. So, Google is going to have to adopt that model, or Ad Marketplace is going to eat their lunch.
Yeah, and to that end, it seemed like earlier, 04, 2005, there was a pretty sizable land grab in terms of network partners, and now with an Ad Marketplace being in the mix, is that are those relationships back up for grabs again?
What we see, I mean, because it was so concentrated with, I would say, Yahoo for the most part, is that a lot of the publisher partners have built their businesses on lack of data and become very tolerant of taking a check and taking it to the bank and being happy with whatever it was. Unfortunately for us, one of our biggest pushes is that we give all the data to the publisher and incentivize them to improve the quality of their traffic and drive the highest revenue and yield by using our tools. But a lot of their technology doesn't simply accept, for example, we pass a real-time bid price to the publisher, allowing them to make a decision on whether they want to show the ad, whether they don't want to show the ad. We're very, very flexible to them. Some of the partners that we share with Yahoo, to get around the contract restrictions, where if you send a search to Yahoo to pull some sponsored listings, they pass back results. You have to show them. You have to show a certain amount of them. You have to display them in a certain way. They're very restrictive about what's on the page, which is great for trafficking and policing the network. But at the same time, it's made it sort of an all or nothing experience for these publishers. And the battle for us on the publisher side, or to deal with our publishers, is actually trying to get them to start to see the light and see that if you are giving them transparency and passing the bid prices, that they can, actually build their businesses with that data. And I think the place for that, is definitely something that Yahoo could be improving on in the future, which is something I'd put on them, and I think they're in a great position to do it. With Google, I don't know if they're ever going to improve the way that they respect their publishers. 70% of their clicks come from their search engine. It's the lion's share of the search space. When 30% of their clicks come from their partners, split between content and search partners, it is an afterthought. And the majority of their clicks and conversions are coming from their search engine. If the performance from their search network and partners isn't that great, it's still not going to affect the ROI of the advertiser anywhere close to as much as the ROI to a Yahoo advertiser, where syndication is driving a large portion of their clicks and revenue.
I mean, just to add to that, we want to make sure that we're like trusted advisors with our partners. We survey our partners every half and make sure they enjoy working with us and like working with us, and that we're doing the best job possible. And we continually, year over year, beat Google and Microsoft in terms of service levels and performance. Again, giving them new features and tools. So I think that, kind of to add to that, people like working with us. And so that's why, the average partnership, is at least 3 years. We have over 300 partners and 60 plus toolbar partners with, large brand names like, Amazon, AT&T, Buy.com, and, WebMD and Monster. So, I think there's a little bit of that, but I think, partners enjoy working with Yahoo too, so.
Do we have other questions out there?
Well, if there's no more questions, why don't we just thank our panel moderators?
Thank you.